Okay, I'm Innocent Antoine Weji. I'm from Benin Republic, and I'm African, and I'm the founder and the director of Youth Initiative for Land in Africa, called YILAA, and we are trying to promote and also defend the youth land rights across the continent, and we make sure that this right connected with question of climate, question of biodiversity, question of agriculture, because we cannot we cannot talk about climate, agriculture and biodiversity without make sure that we have a good land and we have the land who has good security. So that's why we are doing, and make sure that the women has been included in our action. And YILAA is have representative in 31 countries across Africa, including Kenya. That's why you will see that today we are in Kenya, and we are implementing one of the very strong projects here in Kenya with one of our partners. We do this baseline in Bungoma because the baseline study is one of our strategic plan to start implementing the project and to select which kind of area we will implement the project. First of all, in Kenya, we check a little bit which region in Kenya has issues of climate justice. And then we have quite a number of counties. And in this county, when we check, we see that Bungoma County is coming at the first level as the county where we have a lot of issues of climate justice. We have a lot of issues of deforestation. We have a lot of issues of floods. We have a lot of issues of droughts. And we decide to, so from there, we take the decision to start this project in Bungoma. But we cannot base on the existing data. That's why in our project, we have this step of baseline study. So in any project, so when we want to start in Bungoma, we say through our project implementation guideline, we need to confirm what we have get from the existing data. So that's why we do the baseline study. So this baseline study come to confirm exactly what people report to us at the first step of choosing Bungoma. So now we will get into the next step. So the first next step is the training of the champions, because the baseline study confirmed that really Bungoma need this kind of project to change, to transform, to let's say have an value for the communities, for the young people, and also bring a very good sustainability area in this county. Some of the gaps that we need to address immediately, first of all, is question of awareness and sensitization, so that the community will change the mindset, the way they are doing the thing in climate way. And also make sure that we have inclusion, so we don't need to leave anyone behind. So we need to bring the women, we need to bring the youth, we need to bring the person of disabilities. And then create a platform of stakeholders, even in the government, so that they can work together. So that is the first thing. And the second thing is we need also to shift the paradigm. For example, when they are using the firewood to maybe in the family or on the community level, we need now to change to transit. So we need to find the alternative solution who can help them maybe stop the deforestation and then use the alternative solution to start doing all they are doing in the communities. For example, we are trained, for example, some people went to how to develop the ecopreneurship project, so that they can, even if use some nature, let's say, nature materials to make money instead of destroy them, so that it's going to create another issues in climate sectors. So this is two priorities that we need to address. And the last one is how to also involve more the young people in this action, because the young people are at the forefront and they are majority, and we need to start teach them how to mitigate this kind of gap that we have, so that they can bring some solution in our community. So that why this is a three key element that we need to address quickly, so that we can know that, so the knowledge and the practice start transfer from this generation to the future generation. Thank you so much. Let me give you one example. Right now we are training the youth champion in climate justice side. We have our model that we are developing. For example, if we teach 15 young people, each young people have the responsibility to go and teach, for example, 50. So you see, so 50 times 15, you see the number that it happened. So we increase the number of young champions, and increasing the number of champions, it's also increase so the awareness that we are creating in the community. It's also reduce the way people are using, they are destroying the environment and creating the climate issues in the community. So more we have youth champions, less we will have some issues in climate justice side. So that is how we are using the fund to increase. Also create the new green job, for example. So right now we teach them how to develop the new job in climate issues, like ecopreneurship, how to develop some skills, how to develop some aptitude, so that these can start creating some money for them. So through this funding, we are trying also to go to the practical way, so that the young people can be able to create some jobs and limited migration and whatever among our communities. Ecopreneurship is when we take preneurship. Preneurship is private initiative that you do to do business and get money. Eco is related to the environment, climate issues. So we are using, for example, when we are using the materials of environment, materials from the climate sectors, to create some initiative who can bring money. So
can give examples.
Let me say, for example, when I say I take the plastic, recycle the plastic, for example, to do some jarring, maybe do bags, using this plastic to create something. You can, when you create, for example, a bag based on plastic, you sell this bag. But the waste of this plastic that people are doing in the environment, we use that now to create something who can be benefit for the young people. So these young people can get money and create another new job for other young people, and create some industry of bag creation in the community. So you see, this is one of the things. Let me say that, for example, the honey, this is quite the very, in our different natural forest, we can develop the culture of beans. So developing this business can also have an opportunity for young people to sell the honey, and then it can create a value for them and for the community. So you know that the importance of honey is have a very great importance in terms of healthy, and in terms of other things in medical side also. So this is kind of initiative who can be part of the ecopreneurship idea that we are talking about. Thank you so much. First of all, you know that at the beginning of this project, we have involved and we get the permission of the government county, and through that collaboration, you know that very soon we will launch the reports, the report, access of the baseline study report, and then we will launch. We give officially this report to the government county, and then they can use the different recommendation to also strengthen the policies, strengthen the action in the county level. So you see, so this is very important. So we will give some copies to them so that they can start. And second thing, we will put on the place what we call multi-stakeholder platform, bring together the civil society organization, the youth-led organization, the government people, you see, the partners, the donors, so that together, in the way, we will see what do we need concretely to move forward, so that together we think together and we co-create some of other action that we need to take to make sure that we have a good environment, and then we reduce these climate justice issues that we have in this county. Young people of the county, you need to wake up and make sure that you have the responsibility to work on this question of climate justice, create awareness, also advocate the different stakeholders in the county, and also go to the community and let them know the good way to deal with climate issues so that we can maintain the peace and security. Peace and security in terms of social side and in terms of land security side. You know that the climate issues can create migration, and this migration can create land conflict. So behind this thing, we have a lot of issues. So young people of Bungoma, you need to wake up, and from there, you can start communicate and also advocate for this county. Don't wait that we get to the crazy point before you will start advocating your communities, but it's now we need to act. Thank you.
I would say that, like you said, the report has already been launched, and it's important that we go out there and see the findings. You realize within Bungoma County, we realize that close to only 27.6% of the youth actually have an idea, any awareness on climate justice, climate resilience, or climate justice initiative that are being launched. And I point out Bungoma County because it's one of the pioneer counties that actually have a policy on climate change and policies that surround it. So it was really an eye-opener to us that in as much as the policy is out there, we have read it in the wider Kenya, within, on the ground, only 27.6% of the youth have an idea of climate change. So it reveals that it is either we are not doing a good job on pushing out the reports or pushing out the initiatives or understanding what the youths need for them to understand what's going on within the context of climate change. But also, it also gives us an opportunity to understand on how best to engage youth when it comes to climate initiative. YILAA stands for Youth Initiative for Land in Africa. So the place where we stand is mostly the place of advocacy and convening, facilitating multi-stakeholder, intergenerational dialogue when it comes to land governance to ensure that it is youth-centric, it's women-centric, and it's also inclusive. So the issue of land governance comes out because when you don't have the right, I call it land governance because it's not just ownership. It has ownership, it has access, it has land use. So once we have the right policies in place that are being enacted right, then it's easier for them to understand. Sometimes you don't need to own the land, you need to access the land, yeah, in order to do what you need to do for the land and for the people. So I believe when it comes to land ownership, it's more than important that we start having those conversations on how do we make land governance as a whole inclusive when we are talking about tenure security, when we are talking about access, when we are talking about land use. The barriers that we picked out mostly are barriers to do with awareness, are barriers to do with not being included on the table. And it is my belief, if you are not on that table, you are on the menu. So unless we bring youth, because the way we have worked with youths, even as a government, you realize it is more from a tokenized point of view, where the youth, we do attend, we meet the quotas, but we are not in a place where we can say that our decisions are reflected in the final decisions. So you even look at it and you realize the youth attended, but they are not as reflecting on the decisions that were made on that table. So what YILAA is doing is to ensure that youth sit on that table, contribute well, and they are meaningfully engaged. I'm not talking about participation, I'm talking about meaningful engagement. Because from meaningful engagement, you are able to understand what are the needs, and then you are able to capture these needs and be able to put them within the policy setup. From the policy setup, this is now the next thing. Kenya, we have amazing PDFs, which are the policies that sit in offices. The problem is implementation. So it's now starting those conversations to ensure that the enactment, the enforcement, and the implementations of the policies are in place. It's not just about pointing out what the issues are also just coming up with the solutions. And I would use YILAA as my point of contact, because we've had these conversations all over Africa. So I wouldn't say it is really just a Kenyan problem. I would say it's also an African problem that we are all trying to find a solution for. So when I sit down, from where I sit, I would think county governments right now, the first thing is there are a lot of things that can be sorted out if we all sit on the same table. If we can all listen, and not listen to respond, but listen to be able to understand, to go to the core issues and be able to respond appropriately at that time. So I believe it starts with having that dialogue, meaningful dialogue. And I'm not just talking, I know you asked me about county governments and national governments. There's a group that we are leaving out, and these are traditional leaders, because we have customary land issues that are still upstanding. So if we are able to bring all these themes together and then now influence policy, then we move. But beyond influencing the policy, like I said, it's PDF to implementation. How can we implement the policies that we already have in place, that are already working, that some of them already capture aspects of youth-centeredness and women-centeredness? How can we bring those together and ensure we walk the path to the end? So accountability measures, enforcement measures, they need to be in place. So ideally, when I look at climate change, like you said, because that's the perception we have put it, it is a boardroom issue, it is not a community issue. So what we are doing as YILAA, we are shifting the narrative to become a community-owned initiative. So, and there's a statement you said about planting trees. In YILAA, we don't plant trees. We practice what we call tree growing. Tree growing allows you to see the tree grow, to become, as compared to planting, because when you plant in the next 1 year, for instance, let's talk about Kenya. We planted trees, over 1 million trees. How can we account of those 1 million trees actually making it? Yeah. So my view and what we stand for as YILAA is it goes beyond just boardroom politics. It goes beyond boardroom decisions. It comes to the community. How is the community engaged, and how is the community owning the solution? So when we look at this project, it's actually looking at empowering the youth to literally speak into their own policies, to bring out their voices, to ensure that we don't say that we give them voices, we amplify their voices. So their voices are amplified. They are trained to speak well when it comes to technicalities that come to land governance, as well as climate resilience and climate change. And also, lastly, when we look at this project, it's looking at alternative livelihoods. Because most of the time, you realize we'll bring solutions, we'll say we want you to do this and do that, but we don't offer an alternative solution when it comes to livelihoods. So we are setting up, in this project, one of the things we are setting up are actually more like a higher level of table banking, which is like Village Savings Loans Association, which will help them have access have access to credit, because we know as youth it's difficult to access credit. Have access to credit, and they are being taught through other things like kitchen gardening and practical hands-on skills that can allow them to have an alternative source even as they get involved in environmental initiatives. I would say, given the social and the cultural barriers that are not just, and I would say it's an African problem, and the gender roles, some of them have a negative effect when it comes to women in land ownership, in participation in these activities. It is generally known as an aspect that men are the ones that do it. However, you'll come to realize as time goes by, we are partners through this journey. And you realize when you look at indigenous knowledge, the custodians of indigenous knowledge have always been women. So being able to look at this indigenous knowledge when it comes to seeds, when it comes to seasons, when it comes to planting, it's very important that we are able to capture both sides of the divide to ensure that we work together. I believe there is no her without he. So in this journey, when we are talking about climate change, about climate resilience, there is no way we can just say that it is a woman versus man. It's actually an empowerment of the women to ensure that we can partner right when it comes to also the men, when it comes to the conversation of climate change. What gives me hope, I would say, is the future is brighter. Because land is not a very easy issue to talk about, especially with the youth. But when you start seeing they are getting engaged, there's a passion towards it, it means right now we can make the right solution when it comes to land governance and the right solution when it comes to climate resilience that are owned by the community, by individuals, not expectant of a savior outside ourselves. My parting shot is Bungoma. You are a county that is blessed, both in human capital and in other aspects of resources. I believe when we walk this journey together, both the older generation, the younger generation, the women, and the youth, to ensure that land governance and climate resilience becomes an aspect that is a reality, we can literally find the full expression of a generation that is able to be sustainable, not just in future, but a generation that is able to do it right now. So it's not about the youth of the future. The youth, the leaders of the future, the leaders of right now. Let's equip them right. And when it comes to the youth, whoever has been entrusted with much, there is a responsibility to it. Let us also rise up, taking that responsibility right.
My name is Nanjeho Mulati. I'm from Webuye East Sub-County, Bungoma County. I came here courtesy of Youth for Sustainability Development, Bungoma Chapter. This is an organization that is youth-led for the youth. So we take part in environmental activities and climate action. We do plant trees, sensitize youth, and even the older generation on issues of climate. So what motivates Nanjeho is, number one, I'm a young African woman, and I've learned from the training that women, girls, and youth bear the burden of climate change. We are mostly affected by the changes that happen. So what has motivated me is because I've been socialized to carry the burden, I would want to lift off the burden for myself and even my fellow youth and women, so that we are not adversely affected by the climate like before. I would say from my point of view, youths are not fully engaged in climate action activities in Bungoma County. But for the few that I have been able to witness and work with, I would say mostly initiatives I've seen is tree planting, like cleaning up the environment, cleaning up markets, especially, but mostly the activities are done during what I would call holidays, environmental holidays, World Cleanup Day, Mazingira Day. So I think we need to do more outside the holidays, not just waiting once in a year to do a World Cleanup Day to plant the trees, or wait for the president to say we have Mazingira Day to do things that impact our climate. So currently, with the organization that I work with and others that we have partnered with, we do activities throughout the year. But most organizations do it like seasonally. It is not frequent, but I think something needs to be done about it. What we have done, one, we involve youth between 18 to 35 and also people above the age of 35. It is not, in as much as it is a youth-led organization, it involves everyone, both male and female. So that is fairness on gender basis and gender roles. And then number two.
How do you do when you involve them?
Mm-hmm.
Just say you involve them.
Oh, okay. Yes, we have meetings and fellowships where we talk about the issues that we have as youth in relation to climate. 2, we also plant trees, and 3, we take part in cleaning of the environment. Yes, so fairness according to gender and gender roles, and inclusivity. So I would say the support we as young people of Bungoma need is, number one, being included by I would call them decision makers, whether it's at a national level or at a county level. Because some of us, we're not aware that policies are even made. We just hear about them in passing. A policy was made in the county. So I would say being included in spaces where climate is being talked about by people who are in charge of making decisions in the country. And then number 2, even though we partner with other organizations, I would say financial constraints also hinder the amount of work people do, because you might have the willingness but you do not have the resources. So I would say resources is also a big factor. So number 1, I would start with gender bias. We cannot really talk about climate justice unless we talk about land. So land ownership for women is still a struggle even in today. So that is barrier number 1. Number 2, women and girls lack information. We do not know where to get the information from. But I think in this day of social media, there are a few who are able to access it and learn about climate online, but not everyone has the access to the information. So what are we doing about it? Number 1, we can involve women and youth in the ownership or stewardship of land. You might not fully own it, but you're given, take care of, like, this is your portion, do something with it. You can be given the authority to do that. And then also, we can also take personal initiatives. We cannot sit and wait for a multi-million company from abroad to come and tell us the climate is changing, we need to take action. I think personal initiative is an important thing in fighting climate change. So my parting shot is, I would like to encourage every young woman or man, any youth, whether within Kenya, outside Kenya, in Bungoma County or outside, take your personal initiative. You cannot wait for someone to come and save you. No one is coming to save us. We have to do it ourselves. We have to educate ourselves, because when we are educated and we have information, we say information is power. So therefore, learn about your environment, learn about the changes that are happening.
I'm here, Namsasi Makoha Eric, that's my name, on behalf of YILAA, that is the Youth Initiative for Land Affairs. We are here in Bungoma for training the climate champions, mostly youths and women from 2 sub-counties, that is Webuye East and Mount Elgon, and part of chapter is specifically to talk about how the climate change has affected the life of the people, and how do we respond, or how can the community respond to this climate change, and what are the possible solutions to this climate change. The things I never knew before, but after this training, I'm quite knowledgeable. I've quite some knowledge, whereby I'm going to put into considerations the things I thought are not important. Now I take them as important things so that I can respond well to the environment. The things I never knew about the climate change, I never knew about how my activities personally and how fair I was to other people, the things I do, how they were affecting other people. But today, after this training, I know that the things I do that I never knew that were affecting other people I'm now aware that they affect other people, and I'll do them in consideration of other people. One thing I'm going to do, us after this training is to talk to my community about how the climate change is affecting them and the possible solutions to the issues, e.g. the tree cutting and flooding issues and how they affect agriculture and the current state of the unpredictability of the rains, so that we engage in other activities apart from the normal ones that we used to do. We see what else can we do as a community so that we cope with the current change in the climate. Environment itself creates a person. There's no person without the environment. So as a motivating factor, it's about the future. What are we going to leave for the future generation? So we must preserve the current environment and the climate. Make sure that there's no further changes, further damages to the environment, so that the future generation will find a better place than what we have today. There are several things we need so that we can move forward. The main thing is financial. You can't move around without money. So we need financial support. Then we need the cooperation from the community and the policies from the government, so that we have the positive policies that can guide us in conservation of the environment and preserving the climate. I'll say like this. Most youths may not be aware about the climate change, but we being the climate change champions, or youths that have been selected in this training and we have been trained, from here we are going to get other youths in our villages, in our community, so that we educate them, we talk to them about the importance of environment and how the things they do affect the environment, so that they can change the thing they were doing, so that we move together in conservation of the environment. Yeah. My parting shot is, nature is green. Human beings cannot do without environment. We must conserve the environment. We must be keen about the things we do as a person and how they affect other people, so that we are fair in our dealings with the environment, so that we preserve something for the future generation. Thank you so much.
I'm Timothy Chemos Tumwet from Mount Elgon, Chapter East specifically. I'm also a teacher by profession. Basing on what has been happening in Mount Elgon since just I was born, is that we have faced so many things. And because of that, I am motivated to take part in this thing. Like, I want to bring change, because as we are going to as we continue staying, we face a lot of the sea level, or rather I can say the water in some rivers, like my neighboring river, always reduces. So this means that deforestation is really affecting that. And also landslide is killing people, and also floods are also doing a lot of damages than of help to us. So I am personally going to take part in encouraging people to plant trees, and also to practice what we call climate justice by also taking care of the environment. Following the past experiences, like 1 year or 2 years, I have seen people now starting taking planting of trees positively. Like, you can see, even people have gone to an individual level where they can just mobilize a home, or a person just takes a personal initiative and also to plant a tree. You know, when people take some matter in their own hands, they can do a great thing. That tells me that there is hope. First of all, nowadays we have the social media, of which it is very powerful. So first of all, I start by telling them the dangers of destroying the climate, destroying the environment, and then I will now give them solutions, that if you want something positive to happen, you have to do this and this. you have to plant trees, you have to take care of the trees that are already existing, and also encourage them that when you plant trees, you can practice it as also an economic for economic value. For you to get a living, it is not only planting a tree for environment, it can also be an income generating something that can bring money. So by doing that, my peers will practice it, knowing that they will also be getting something in return. My parting shot is that Mount Elgon has always faced a lot of challenges. Mine is just to encourage people to give land to their siblings as early as it is possible, so that they reduces the years of them taking to plant something. Like, just show your son or your daughter a certain place that you can plant here your 10 trees or 15 trees, then delaying that person to reach maybe 10 years, in 30 years, 40 years for him to give him a land. You can give him a land just for him or her to plant just trees, but not even necessarily owning it, but to plant trees so that he can be responsible to take care of the land. Also, conflicts are also destroys the peace of people. So when we have peace in Modelgon, of course we will be able to stay in harmony, and the people can plant trees knowing that it is a long-term solution, than planting a tree knowing that you will be chased away. So somebody cannot prepare for the future. He prepares himself for a very short time.
What motivated me a lot is, especially recently, there have been a lot of landslides, like the cases we have been seeing in Marakwet. Yeah, so like those things to do with climate, Yeah, so that was one of the things, because if we protect our environment now, that means we are saving the future tomorrow. From Mount Elgon, mostly we have organizations where like there's school visits in schools where they motivate the students to go plant trees and mobilize the community on the dangers of not conserving the environment. Yeah, it has changed a lot, being my first time being here, but it is very vital, and it has empowered me to work with people doing climate, and also, say for example, when they use biogas or something, there's no like cutting trees and to make charcoal there, so you can use waste. You are saving environment from not cutting trees, or also planting, farming, different methods of farming. Women can take part in those farming by using, let's say, container farming. Most women, like literally most women and youth and girls, let's say that they don't own land. So like land ownership is where now they draw the line, because you're a woman, you don't have land, so how can you do like climate thing? So, and there's no motivation. We can actually, it's natural at some point. The cultures, they don't allow women to inherit things. So like if you're a man, you inherit. So in most cases, but things are changing, and we hope like women can also be given a chance to own that land, to be participating in things to do with climate change. Like land ownership for women, well, engaging women, telling them the importance of having their own land, having to depend on what, they always say, without men there's no her. So I think they just have to work together with men. Well, I can encourage people to conserve environment. Yeah, because I just have one quote: if you protect the environment now, you are saving the future. That is it.